And Gaz, how are you feeling? Any sore head after the parade?
I'm all right, mate. Did I mention that we got promoted? No. Yeah, just a bit hot, mate. I don't cope well when it's really hot like this. I'm a big bugger, and I don't like it. So yeah, I'm a bit hot, but I'm all right. Not so bad. How are you?
Yeah, not bad. I'm a big lad too. Not quite as gigantic in terms of stature as you, Mr. Walker, but I don't do well in the hot weather. I get us back to December. That's why I say. Anyway, we will kick off tonight's show. We're going to look at all our West Yorkshire Football Show sides. We might touch on non-league if Lou's got anything from non-league. Obviously, that ended a couple of weeks ago. And then we're going to talk more generally about the playoffs. Obviously, it's that time of season again, which everybody sort of looks looks forward to, except if your team are in the playoffs. And normally that's a bit of a roller coaster ride. And then we'll look forward to the Champions League final and sort of the end of the season and maybe round off kind of a review generally about how football's gone this season. We might touch on one or two other subjects along the way. But we'll start with a quick roundup about our side. So firstly, we'll go to Bradford City. Obviously, they confirmed promotion the other week and had a fantastic parade on Tuesday. Guys, you were at the parade. How were things there? And obviously a carnival atmosphere in the heart of the city.
Yeah, it was good. I went over for the parade, partly because the missus and kids wanted to go, as they went over when it was the parade that we had in 2013. So we decided to go again. I obviously missed. I didn't go down North Parade after the game on the Saturday. All the players went down North Parade after the game. Were celebrating with the fans and getting drunk with the fans, and I were a bit disappointed that I missed that. So it was nice to go over for the parade. I think it just showed. We talked about it on the City Special show that we did with Jamie Rayner last week. I think it showed the potential that this club has. The turnout that was there, absolutely phenomenal, especially when you compare it to the parade or the equivalent thing that Doncaster did for winning the league. It dwarfed it, really. It just shows, like I said, what potential this club has. We talked about it on the pod. The thing that holds this club back is the fact that the ground and the training ground and the club are all owned by three different people. Stefan Rupp owns the club. Gordon Gibbs Family Pension Fund owns the stadium, and we rent the training facilities off a school. That is what's going to hold us back in the long run, because that parade and the celebrations and obviously the attendances at the club towards the end of the season show what potential there is at Bradford City if we can tap into it and fulfill it. We have more than enough potential to be up there at the top of League One, but it's going to take time because we have things holding us back. But yeah, just fantastic. In general, just fantastic to celebrate with the players. 26 years since automatic promotion, or last time we had automatic promotion, so we were well overdue it. And as you lads know, I really wanted it, and we got it. So yeah, really, really chuffed.
How does it feel compared to the other times when you've gone up through the playoff, Gaz? I mean, like I said, 26 years, and you're not. We're going to talk about the playoffs later on, but you didn't have to go through that heartache again, and you could just sort of, all right. I know it was a dramatic last day for you, but it kind of is great to relax at a parade like that, knowing that the players really did it in the end.
Yeah, you nailed it in the intro, Downsy. Like, the playoffs are fun for everybody apart from those that are involved in it. Those that are involved in it, it's too stressful. It's just, yeah, I'm just glad to avoid all that, to be honest. We've been in the playoffs a few times over the last few years. Obviously, we went up through the playoffs in 2013. We lost in the semis in 2016 in League One. We lost in the final in 2017 in League One. And we lost in the semi-final in League Two in 2023. I think it was, 2 years ago. So we have a lot of history in the playoffs recently. Our playoff record is mixed. It's not as good as Towns, who have a really good record in the playoffs, but it's better than Leeds, who have a poor record in the playoffs. So it can go either way with City in the playoffs. But yeah, just really glad to avoid it. And the fact that we've obviously only had our last automatic one was in 1999. It was just, something that I really, really wanted, and you couldn't have done it in more dramatic fashion. As you know, lads know, our form wasn't great towards the end of the season. You saw how I was getting. I felt we'd bottled it and chucked it away on a lot of occasions in a lot of ways. but we managed to scramble over the line in the most dramatic fashion, like you said, 96th minute, pretty much take it to almost the last kick of the season to get automatic promotion. And if you could bottle that feeling, as we said on the pod the other night, if you could bottle that feeling and sell it, you'd be a millionaire.
Lou, from an outsider point of view, I know you've got with the connections to the city of Bradford, as in you support the other team, in the Bradford area. But it is great to see people like Gaz who have supported the club through thick and thin. And let's be honest, City fans have been through a lot of thin recently. To just have a day out like that and really rejoice in the good fortunes of the club.
That's what you want as a football fan, and we keep saying it, don't we? That you're waiting for those moments to happen, and on the whole, they probably don't happen as much as what you want them to do. Probably 6-7 times out of 10, you're likely to just have a average season, kind of go through the motions, despite having a few ups and downs. But when you get a promotion, and especially the way Bradford City have done it, that's going to be, let's be honest, probably maybe once or twice in a lifetime that might happen. So you've absolutely got to celebrate, embrace it, and do everything you can to enjoy those moments. And obviously we know with Gaz and the gang that they've absolutely done that, and rightly so, because it's, like I say, they don't come around very, very often in moments. And like I say, you get promoted, which is a huge thing for any football fan, but to do it with, the 96 minutes on the clock, and it's everything that's you want to happen, but you also don't want to happen while you're still there, to go through that agony and pain just to see that happen. I think it's fantastic that you get to celebrate those moments, and you can't blame the likes of Bradford City and the clubs that we've seen in recent weeks. Do the open top bus parades, the parades around cities, and go on these extravagant holidays that the supposedly owners may have paid for and people have helped chipped in. That's part of football, isn't it? You work hard. It's a fantastic profession to be in. They're very lucky people to do that. They've obviously been given that gift to play football, and we all know that they're paid relatively handsomely. But at the end of the day, you still got to do the job, and it's never easy to go and under that amount of pressure that these players do. They are human beings. I mean, crikey, we've seen what Alexander Arnold had to go through yesterday. And at the end of the day, they are human beings. So when you've got that pressure on you, like what Bradford City have, and especially like Leeds United, and obviously yourselves at Huddersfield, it's a big thing. So when you get at the right end of it, absolutely celebrate it.
Guys, it's also been an emotional week because of obviously the Bradford City fire, and remembering people, rightly so, through that horrific disaster that's happened, and it's kind of culminated in a very emotional week for the entire club and fan base, really.
Yeah, 40 years this year, so a big anniversary of that. Very, very nice to get promotion. Very fitting to do it on the 40th anniversary, and in the manner that we did. But I struggle to talk about 1985 because I wasn't around. Well, I was 2 years old in 1985, so I wasn't at the game or following City around that sort of time. But we all know somebody that was always involved in that tragedy in one way or another. You lads probably do, being more local to the area. I certainly do, having City fan, friends who are City fans. So we all know what a tragedy it was, and I would recommend anybody that's not seen it to go and watch the documentary that was on last night on the BBC Two called Unforgotten. That is well worth a watch if you want to educate yourselves on everything that surrounds the Bradford City fire. But as we do every year on the last home game of the season, we had the minute silence, and just wanted to show our respects to the family and friends of those that passed away, or those that were affected, and obviously those that passed away themselves. So rest in peace to 56.
Yeah, 100%. Also, get in touch, guys, that are watching. Please do get your comments in. Ian, a regular watcher to the show, I'd like to thank Ian as well, because he did tune into the Town Talk yesterday to specifically ask about Matty Pearson, which I may ask you about in a minute, guys. But obviously, Ian said he thinks that you had to go up this season. Any momentum was being sort of lost after 6 years in League Two, mate. So it's it probably, it was getting to the end of the cycle of any momentum being sort of lost, like Ian says, really, Gaz.
I think we had one more year at it. I think that David Sharp spoke when he came in about it possibly taking 2 years or 4 transfer windows to get the squad how we wanted it. I think given what he said there, we maybe had next season as well. I was always of the opinion that we would struggle to make the top 3 this season. I got more confident, obviously, as we had that run around January, February time, and we were doing really well, and we hit the top 3. But I was always thinking before that it'd be a playoff year. But once you've had a taste of that top 3 and you think you're in with a chance of it, you become absolutely desperate, as you lads know, to get over the line, and it sort of becomes all consuming in a way. So I understand what Ian's saying there. It would have been a bitter pill to swallow if we'd have ended up in the playoffs. Remarkable what Walsall did yesterday, to be honest, after the fall off that they had. Obviously winning 1, they didn't win until the last game of the season. I think they were 13 games without a win before the last game of the season, and then they rocked up at Crewe and won. And fair play to them for going to Chesterfield and winning 2-0 yesterday, because that is a really, really tough thing to do when you've just missed out on automatics.
You made me panic there, guys. I thought I'd got the wrong badge on the graphic later on for the playoffs when you'd said Crewe. Anyway, I've got it right then. So let's get on to a bit of the retained list. Obviously, City and Leeds haven't brought out the retained list yet. Huddersfield Town have, because we want to get rid of, well, nearly all the squad. But this, I asked Gaz earlier on who he thinks may or may not be staying at Bradford City. So I'll bring up the graphic here, and Gaz, you can talk us through it, mate. That's not, why has that happened anyway?
Do you want me to go into it, Downsy? Yeah. So they are the list of players that are current that will be out of contract with Bradford City this summer. So as you can see, the bottom 5 are loans who will return to the parent clubs this summer whenever the contract with City ends. The others are contracted to Bradford City, but will be out of contract this summer. Apart from Lewis Richards, who I know when we signed him, it was publicised that we would have a 1-year option to extend his stay with us for another year. I do believe that City sometimes do that, or try to do that with a lot of players, put an option in the club's favour. So there might be others on that list that also have an option, but the one that was publicised when he signed was Lewis Richards. Out of the ones that are out of contract there, I only see Smallwood, Kelly and Sam Walker as definitely getting offered new deals. That is my personal opinion. Some City fans will disagree. I've had a little chat with a few people on Twitter or X today, and a lot of City fans are undecided on Kieran Kelly. A couple are undecided on Romney Critchlow. I think that Kieran Kelly will probably get a new deal just because I think he's a favourite of Graham Alexander's. And we also have a lot of churn in the centre-back position, with the fact that Huntington will leave, Johnson will leave, Shepherd will go back to Barnsley. I just feel that he might want to keep hold of Kelly as an option there at left-hand sided centre-back. Romney Critchlow also plays left-hand sided centre-back. I don't see us keeping both, and that's why I think Critchlow will go. I don't think he's overly impressed in his short-term deal that he signed in January to come from Peterborough. He was majorly impressive in his first spell with us a couple of years ago on loan from Town. Not struggled this time, but not been as impressive in this 6 months that he's been with us. I think he might go, but this is all just my personal opinion. Like I say, Downsy, the return list hasn't been released yet. I believe that they've only just come back from Ibiza, a holiday that the chairman Stefan Ruck paid for the squad. I think Graham Alexander said he was hoping to sit down with Ryan Sparks, Stephen Gent, and David Sharp today, and then speak to the players tomorrow. So it could be Wednesday, Thursday before we actually hear who the retained list is, who we're hoping to keep or who we've offered new deals to. Everyone else on that list, I expect to leave. Could you just bring it back up again, pal?
Yeah.
I expect Sam Stubbs to go. He's been on loan at Cheltenham all season. Verdane Oliver will go. Thought to be highly paid at City, and it's just not worked out. He's been on loan at Shrewsbury since January. Callum Johnson, I'll come back to Jamie Walker in a minute. Callum Johnson has had his injury problems and he's been in and out. I don't see him getting a new deal. Paul Huntington signed as cover, really, but a promotion, not expert, but he has had promotion before with Carlisle, and I think his experience has helped us this season, but I think he'll go. I think he'll be released. Like I say, I spoke about Critchlow. I think he'll be released. I see Kelly and Smallwood getting new deals. Sam Walker, I think, will get a new deal. He's been our number one goalie all season. Whether he'll be number one goalie next year, I don't know. We also have Joe Hilton under contract, who's been back up this year. Whether we'll sign a third keeper and Sam Walker will be pushed to number 2, I don't know. Or Sam Walker might keep the number 1 jersey for next year and beyond. Of the loans, I see Jay Benny's not featured towards the end of the season. Well, since January, really. I think he'll go back. Brandon Kaler would be a good one to get back on loan if we can. He's been impressive when he's played on loan from Birmingham. They might let us keep him with us having gone up and them having gone up as well. Terada Ramola, been impressive on loan from Crystal Palace. We have a good relationship with Crystal Palace, having had Scott Banks on loan before. And again, with us getting promoted, there might be a chance of getting him back on loan. Michael Mellon, possibly. I don't know. I don't know how City fans would feel about that. I'm not sure how the club will feel about that. He's played second fiddle to Callum Kavanagh largely since Andy Cook got injured. So whether he would come back or be wanted back, I'm not 100% sure. It was interesting to see him leading the chants at the parade and on North Parade after the game. He's obviously loving it at City. He's become big mates with Callum Kavanagh. So whether he'd want to come back, he might do. I don't know. That's one to possibly consider, but I would err on the side of I doubt it at the moment. Jack Shepherd would be one that we would love to get back. He's been fantastic this season. Had to be in the running for Player of the Year, I think, at one point. Got voted into the top 5 Players of the Year on Whip for the Post vote for Player of the Year. If we can get him back from Barnsley on loan or even permanently, it'd be absolutely fantastic. But I believe that he signed a new contract before he came out on loan from Barnsley, so they might want to keep him or might want a big fee for him if they are to let him go. The sad one for me is Jamie Walker. One of my favourite City players over the last couple of years, been a bit of a shining light when things haven't been great, along with Andy Cook. I know he's well settled in the area, bit of a fan's favourite. Like I said, probably doesn't want to leave the area, to be honest. But his game time has been limited, particularly over the second half of the season. And I just have a feeling that his time might be up with City and he might get released this summer.
Yeah. Lou, any last thoughts on City before we move on?
I think when you look at that list, you've probably got around half of them that were in the first team last year. So there is going to be quite a substantial amount of change, I think. Even though Alexander will want to try and keep it to a minimum, I think, because you want to trust the people that have got him there, and that team spirit is really fostered, I think, especially in the past 12 months here at Valley Parade. There's some key players on that list. Smallwood, Player of the Year. Sam Walker, he's come in and done a magnificent job after Harry Lewis were rated so highly, gone to Carlisle, and Sam Walker's come in. Probably at the time wasn't massively favoured wherever he'd been, and now he's almost a bit the fans' favourite. We've seen, like I say, the impact of the loan signings, especially Adam Marola. Mellon's got a shout in there as well. I know that when we spoke on the show with Jamie, didn't we, about what does that loan option look like next year with teams going up? Gaz made a really good point about Keller with Birmingham. Obviously Mellon being in and around at Stockport as well, in that potentially in the same league as City. And there's going to be a lot of discussions had. What I do think is that I see City making some early moves. I think they've probably identified the targets within the past 6 to 12 months.
Yeah.
And they'll want to do that business as quickly as possible. So when the lads do come back after a bit of a break and a bit of a celebration, that Alexander's probably got about 80-90% of that squad ready. Because I think it's vital to hit the ground running in League One. Echo my thoughts of what I've said about League One. I think it's going to be an incredibly tough division that next season. And for the likes of Bradford City coming up into some really established teams in that division, City have got to start well. And I think Alexander will want to get, personally, I think he'll want to get probably 3 or 4 bodies in for the first game of that season and then evaluate the market until the end of the window.
I think Ian's made a good comment, Downsy, in the chat. He's messaged about, particularly his point about Smith, Ottawa and Wilson. We do have some players under contract, as most clubs probably do, that the club might advise to find other clubs or don't see in our plans. I would imagine that Tyler Smith, Clark Ottawa, and Adam Wilson are amongst those. Like I said, they are under contract for next season. Adam Wilson and Tyler Smith have been out on loan and don't really feature in Graham Alexander's plans. I don't think Clark Ottawa also slipped down the pecking order. So those 3 could be 3 players who we do have under contract, but we might try and shift on if we can.